Stanley presents, oh, hey, that's me, The Further Adventures of Indiana Jones. Excelsior.
Welcome.
It's time for The Further Adventures of Indiana Jones.
Some of the greatest adventures of my life are sitting in this museum.
Big deal.
Pack your bag, grab your passport, and prepare to go globetrotting with Dark Horse Comics' classic four-color adventures of Indiana Jones.
Oh, your teacher.
Part-time.
Mr. Henry Jones, Jr. of Princeton, New Jersey.
I like Indiana.
We're named the dog Indiana.
Now, what shall we talk about?
Well, welcome IndyCast listeners and further fans to the Further Adventures of Indiana Jones. I'm Joe Stuber, hitting the high seas today along with my matey in Austria, Keith Voss. Keith, are you ready to talk like a pirate today?
Are
you?
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Yes. I am ready to talk like a pirate today. I'm ready to discuss all things pirates today, all things pirates in comics today, all things pirates today. I'm ready for this.
It's good, man.
Finally ready for this.
We've been promising this for a while. Well, look, we delivered the last time. We had Carl Kiesel on, the author, the artist behind Indiana Jones and the Sargasso Pirates. What a way to kickstart this series. And look, spoiler alert to everybody out there. I don't know if it's my favorite. It's pretty close. It's pretty close to the comic book series. Keith, what do you think?
I don't know if it's my favorite. I really enjoyed this story, but
you have an affinity for Fate of Atlantis, right?
Yeah, I really like Fate of Atlantis, but I'm not going to go out on that limb and say it's my favorite, but it's definitely up there. It's definitely exciting, definitely a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to talking to you about it today.
All right, so we've got a little bit of housekeeping before we go on today. There's some things we want to talk about. We've got a special guest today. We've been talking about him for a while as well. Look, I want to mention Terrificon. Keith, you didn't make it this year. I think you're shooting for it next year, right?
Shooting for it next year. Might be a little tight with our ongoing schedule, but we're gonna see if we can make it happen.
We're gonna have a blast because I think Ron's gonna be there again. Laird's gonna be there. Got to meet up with them. Look, you guys heard on the John Williams special, we did the Terrificon John Williams special live from Terrificon. But I also got a chance to meet some of the folks from the world of Further Adventures of Indiana Jones at Terrificon. Keith, the godfather of Further Adventures. We talked to him right here on the show. David Michelinie, man.
Yeah, we sure did. That's great.
That was a big one.
That's a big one. You also, I think, talked to Ron Friends, didn't you?
Yeah, David
Michelinie.
On a two-parter. Yeah, so we got 138, 139, 140. We did like 3 episodes in a row. So David Michelinie, if you haven't had a chance to check it out, IndyCast, episode 138. Ron Friends was there. So we did a two-parter, epic two-parter with Ron Friends on 139, 40. And Keith, someone we have not had a chance to meet or speak with yet. Further fans know him as James Owsley, co-plotter of issues 20 through 22, along with Michelinie. We've talked about him. The owl. The one, the only. Well, look, you know him you're a Daredevil guy. I haven't mentioned that too. But, well, Christopher Priest. He's going by Christopher Priest now. We know him as James Owsley from Further Adventures. He was at Terrificon. I took my Further Adventures issues. I had them out of the bag, ready for signing. I had my mic ready to talk about all things Indiana Jones with Christopher, a.k.a. James, and he didn't remember working on the book.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised.
That's kind of surprised me a little bit. I thought for sure he'd be like, oh, Indiana Jones, really cool. And he was just like, why are you... What?
I mean, just think about the stuff that he's worked on. This is probably just a blip. It's a blip to him, you know? I mean, it's happened before a couple of times. These guys kind of don't remember these details from
Well, at least I remember working on the book, though. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, but we are going back over 30 years. You know what I mean? I mean, they work on so much stuff. Can you tell me like one little tiny thing that you maybe worked on 30 years ago, perhaps? I mean, maybe you would remember something. Of course, it's Indiana Jones.
Yeah,
we remember that stuff, but you know, maybe it's just not as important to him.
Well, and it could have been like we talked about, you know, it could have been a Deadline thing. It could have been like Michelinie was run up against Deadline. Maybe he just came because he co-plotted it with Michelinie. So who knows? Maybe he just added a few things here and there. So when that happened, I will say this. I kept it to sort of an overall chat about Indiana Jones. Look, we get a chance to talk to, you know, Christopher Priest. That's for the IndyCast. I'm going to talk about Indiana Jones in general. But we wanted to bring that to you listeners out there. So it was a really cool chat. He's a really cool guy. We did talk about Indiana Jones. We got some Indiana Jones talk. So without further ado, here is my very brief indie chat with Christopher Priest, a.k.a. James Owsley.
So he probably got into a deadline crunch, and they probably asked me to script it for him. But honestly, I couldn't comment on it because you put this on my desk, and I'm like, why is he putting this on my desk? Wow, I actually am in this.
In print, we do have evidence that you worked on an Indiana Jones book. We're here with the great Christopher Priest, who, to Indiana Jones fans, Further Adventures fans, we knew you as James Owsley. Okay, so and you're actually signing a James Owsley too.
Yeah.
So
Why not?
So this was probably, we talked to David Michelini about this. He's credited with the plot. So is this something you think might be a deadline?
Oh, it's entirely possible. Honestly, this was 30 years ago.
Yeah.
So
I ask people all the time to go back and through the mists of time to Scotland to go back with Indiana Jones and Marcus Brody and.
I this is a real surprise to me because I haven't seen these comics in a very long time, and frankly, I didn't know why you were putting them on my table. So,
which is the funniest thing ever. But let me ask you this: were you an Indiana Jones fan at the time, or around like early 80s?
Everybody was an Indiana Jones fan.
Yeah.
Come on,
What was your favorite aspect about the character and the sort of maybe comic book translations of them over the years?
I haven't read a lot of the comics. I saw all the films, of course, and I think he's this everyman. Has his everyman quality. So they're doing sort of a 1940s serial where he's kind of almost superhuman, and yet they did this twist where he is flawed and very, very human that you can identify with, and it was just very refreshing. So rather than him just being like this absolutely perfect sort of dashing, hero, he's kind of this guy that actually gets involved with a lot of this for his own personal reasons, if not quite selfish reasons, but ends up being not quite an anti-hero, but ends up doing something for the greater good, achieving something for the greater good. So it has a mass appeal to it.
Now, we know Disney's got the rights back to everything, so Disney/Marvel. We're all kind of assuming that Marvel is going to be doing another Further Adventures of Indiana Jones at some point, that at least we're hoping.
They certainly should.
Yeah.
Because it has that mass market appeal.
Would you want to take on the challenge and maybe return with a fresher perspective on Indiana Jones these days?
I would consider it because it's so different from, what I've been doing and what my bread and butter is, the superhero stuff. Yeah. So certainly I would kind of take a look at it. I would certainly consider it. What
are you working on right now? I see a lot of Black Panther stuff going on here. So what can you tell us about some of the projects you got going on now, and how can people find out more about what you got going on?
Well, the best way is to go to my website, which is ChristopherPriest.com. As far as what I'm working on now, I'm doing, obviously, Deathstroke for DC. I'm doing a Spider-Man miniseries for Marvel that'll be shipping toward the end of the year. I'm doing a book called Astonisher for Lion Forge. I'm doing a hardcore miniseries, that's CRRPS, hardcore miniseries for Valiant. And some other stuff from Marvel that I can't tell you about because they told me don't tell anybody about it.
Always a good idea to not say something if the boss told you not to say it. So
there you go.
Well, Christopher, thank you so much for joining me on the IndyCast today. We appreciate it. We love going back through these adventures. I know we go back through the mist of time on some of these things, and we're digging deep.
You got me with this stuff.
Were you surprised, though, that I brought you some Indiana Jones today?
Yeah.
Did I make your day here terrific?
Oh, yeah. It's starting to come back to me now. I'm starting to... Yeah, I did write that. Okay.
Amazing stuff, but we enjoyed it, and we hope you get to return to the world of Indiana Jones.
Well, good. We never know. Keep an eye on it.
All right, there you have it. That was look. I got to meet him. I got some books signed. Keith, I think I got a book signed for you as well. So that was pretty cool.
Cool. I mean, it fills in a little tiny gap in the history of Further Adventures.
It does. So and look, as we went along, he did start. He said he started to remember some things. It's just kind of cool. I don't know.
You jogged his memory.
I guess. Maybe Marvel will relaunch Further Adventures, and maybe he'll jump in. That'd be kind of cool. He says he loves the character, so that would be awesome.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool. But let's just hope that they at least start a comic book series. Then we can go into who we want as artists, as writers, and so on. Let's just get the comic going.
And like 50 more episodes for the IndyCast, right?
At least.
Ed will love that. All right. Yes, one thing he did reference, though, was the comparison of Raiders to the old movie serials of the 30s and 40s. Today, man, look, we're talking about Sargasso Pirates. If you heard that Carl Kiesel interview, we're going to take a look at 30s and 40s comic strip inspirations for today's review. As we talked about with Carl Kiesel, he said this was directly inspired by Terry and the Pirates, that 30s and 40s cartoon strip. If you haven't had a chance to check out that interview, it's episode 267. After either pause and go back and check it out, or check it out after today's show you want to. But look, we're going to be talking about that. Keith, we're going to be talking about Sargasso Pirates, and Carl really was inspired by Terry and the Pirates with that.
Absolutely. So why don't we just get right to it, and we'll also be able to introduce our mystery guest. Yep, as always, if you haven't read the miniseries, we're going to spoil all the plot points, but why not read it along with us? Break out your omnibus, break out your original comics, break out your digital copies.
Bring them all.
However
Bring
you
rum.
have it. Bring them all. Bring the rum. We got our rum flowing here. It's late enough for two of us at least. Our guest might be a little early.
We'll see. Maybe you'll have a mimosa or something like that. Look, bring the miniseries into the Raven's Nest. That's where we're going to be heading in. We are heading into the club to meet up with a special guest reviewer today. Keith, it seems only appropriate if we're talking about a story involving Indiana Jones and pirates that we meet up with a man who is well known for dressing up like a pirate. Doesn't that make sense, right?
Jerry Seinfeld is here?
Jerry Seinfeld.
Oh, sorry.
No, it is our esteemed IndyCast leader, Ed Dolista. All right, Keith, we are in the club, and let's bring him in. Here is Ed Dolista.
Hello there. How you doing?
What are you wearing?
I am wearing. That's a personal issue, but I am wearing a puffy shirt. Just to let you know.
Oh, no, you're not. Are you really?
No, I've just got a New York T-shirt on today.
I was hoping you dress up for the occasion, though. Look, I know it's like crazy early there as we're recording this. Keith and I got our rum out, so we're good to go. But it's crazy early for you, Ed. I know. Thank you so much for doing this, and we're stealing you away from the IndyCast to come on in the club with us today. But do you have a mimosa or anything, or what do you got? Breakfast in bed? Or?
I had a coffee and some raisin toast actually. So I'm just sitting here in the palatial IndyCast studios. Getting ready to talk Pirates and Indy, which I'm looking forward to.
Does it look like Indy's lair? Like, does it look like Indy's office where you have like all these shelves full of like stuff all over the place?
Well, it is actually. Yeah, I've got. I actually have a shark face here. I've got my Mr. Gibbs autograph, a lot of Superman, a lot of Star Wars, and of course a lot of Indiana Jones around here, just sitting behind the Ark of the Covenant, which is good. Not life-size, unfortunately.
Don't look at it, Ed. Don't look
away,
at
Ed.
Close your eyes.
Well, first of all, thank you for joining us here in the Raven's Nest. I think we had you on once before, but man, it's so much fun. And by the way, thank you as always for giving us this platform on the IndyCast, because Keith and I have had a blast. 7 years we celebrated this year, and thank you for doing it, man. We have just had a blast going through all this comic. Keith and I talking about it is one thing, but being able to share it with listeners, it's a little bit better.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, it's a pleasure, and I really appreciate all you guys do for the show and for the listeners. And you open our eyes to a larger world when it comes to the comics. It's fantastic. So really appreciate it.
When we talked to Carl Kiesel about this, and this is like it was obvious that this was a passion project for him. And again, inspired by Terry and the Pirates. I wasn't as familiar with Terry and the Pirates. I'm kind of going through this thing. So these characters all seem new to me as we're talking about these. But man, you're going through it. I'm doing a little bit more research and looking at some of the old comic strips. This is right out of this. And Keith and Ed, man, Indiana Jones, it's so suited to a daily comic strip. I would love if they would do something like this. Do they even make daily comic strips anymore? There's no newspapers, right?
Yeah, I think newspapers have gone the way of the dodo, haven't they? No, it was the same for me. I never knew anything really about Terry and the Pirates either. I mean, it was kind of, again, introducing something to a new generation and doing it through Indiana Jones, which was also being introduced to a new generation, So it was it was quite nice to after our Carl Kiesel interview to go back and kind of see all of those inspirations. And man, they are some interesting stuff going on there. And I mean, it's not even just Terry and the Pirates. There's lots of like nice little callbacks to other famous seafaring characters in this series as well.
Yeah, there are. So, well, here's how we do it. Let's do the rundown, Keith. Why don't you give us the creative team on the book? And it's mostly Carl Kiesel, but we've got some other ones coming in. And my goodness, the covers. We are going to talk about the covers for these books because I got to meet the man who did 2 of the covers, and he signed the first one, which was amazing.
Amazing covers. So we have Indiana Jones and the Sargasso Pirates, written by Carl Kiesel, art by Carl Kiesel. He did all four issues, and Paul Guinan, he did issue number 1 only, and Eduardo Barreto, who did issue number 4 only. And again, those great covers by Alex Ross. The colors were by Bernie Moreau, and letters by Pat Brasso.
That's right. And we got 3 and 4 issue covers by Russell Walks, and Carl talked a little bit about that too, because it was like he kind of got Alex. Well, we'll talk about this when we get the covers, but he kind of got Alex Ross before he was Alex Ross. And then in the middle of this, there was a delay with the death of Superman and all these things that Carl had to work on. And then he became Alex Ross. He couldn't do the covers anymore. So, but what I love about the artwork, too, is that even though there is a shift in the artist as you go through the book, and Ed, you've probably seen this, too, and you can talk to just the style of just all these great ships and the pirates and everything like that. But it's not jarring when these different artists come in. It's the book has such a flow to it. The miniseries has such a flow to it.
Oh, absolutely. I think the artwork is pretty good. There's a few little things that I'd like to talk about, but as we get to them. But certainly the artwork, I feel, captures the feel of that indie feel, and also the feel of pirates, which is what you want.
And you've just recently dressed like a pirate too, didn't you? Because I saw on Facebook, didn't you
last weekend was Talk Like a Pirate Day, International Talk Like a Pirate Day, and I've been pirating on that day, on Sunday, and what's date is it today? Thursday. So on Tuesday all day. So I've been up to my knees in rum and dreadlocks, pretty much.
I've only seen you as a pirate. I don't think I've ever heard you as a pirate. Can you give us like some of your pirate? Is it Ed as a pirate, or is it Ed as Johnny Depp? Well,
it's me as I'm no Keith Voss when it comes to Jack Sparrow impersonations, I would say. But I don't know what you're talking about, mate. My name is Captain Jack Sparrow. It's a bit hard to get into it.
No, I like that. No. That actually, seriously, without seeing you and just hearing it, that was pretty amazing. So
sounded great.
Look, another bottle of rum for the table, I think, right?
Absolutely.
That's gonna be amazing. Okay, let's talk a little bit about Indiana Jones and the Sargasso Pirates. Okay, so Keith, you want to give us a little synopsis? Just give us an overall feel of the book. What do we got?
Well, we have Indiana Jones. He's been sailing the high seas in search of a long-lost Viking ship, and he signed on with a band of pirates. Indy's placed his life in the hands of his old nemesis, Captain Lawton.
Great character.
Interestingly enough, was the character that picked him up after that opening in Last Crusade. Indy's in the water. This is the guy that picked him up. This is the guy that captained the ship that picked him up. He blames Indy for the loss of his leg to a shark years earlier. It turns out Lawton was running guns. Indy didn't like that. So, apparently Indy saved him from the shark, not actually, fed him to the shark. But anyway, sharks are the last of anyone's worries when the vessel becomes entangled in the mythical graveyard of ships, the Sargasso Sea.
Oh, what a setting, man. And issue number 1, a watery grave. Boy, this just... look, Ed, what did you think about this? Just the setting for this Indiana Jones story.
Oh, absolutely. Well, the premise is pretty exciting, I think, and it's always good to see Indy in an environment that we're not, really used to. So apart from... Well, I suppose actually, he's been on the water, hasn't he, quite a bit now that I think about it, the Bantu Wind and the Coronado and all that, but I think seeing him in a seafaring adventure is quite interesting, and also in the snow, which is always fun. A bit of a novelty seeing Indy on some ice caps, which is good.
We always talk about that, like we always want that. And correct me if I'm wrong. Is it the only? I mean, obviously some of the comic book tales have that, but Is it, as far as live action, was it just the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles, the Harrison Ford bookends, where we kind of got like Indy in the snow, Indy in the ice?
I think so.
I think so too. I think I mean, I don't remember any other real snowy live action that I've seen. I can't really remember.
Like
I think that's the only time.
But doesn't it seem like a no-brainer, guys?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And then, like Ed said, there's
missed opportunities.
Exactly. Like Ed said, we got some of these glimpses of Indy on the high seas, but for a full-blown adventure. And one other thing I noticed, and I don't know if you guys noticed, Keith, I have been harping on this almost every episode. Listeners are probably getting sick and tired of hearing about it. But it's like, I love the fact that in Raiders, you've got a MacGuffin. It's an awesome MacGuffin, but it's not really about the MacGuffin. It becomes almost about Indian Marion and the characters and Belloc and all these different things at play in Sala. And I love the fact that the MacGuffin just doesn't kind of take over the whole thing. Some of the comic book adventures, it almost becomes the whole thing. We get the history, all the writing, the dialogue about it. This one, it doesn't seem like there's a huge MacGuffin. And it's just more about character development, right?
Sure. I was just going to say that's where it feels a little bit more like what you just described from Raiders is like, you get the history between Indy and Lawton, which is a really interesting history. And they always touch on just these little moments that happen between the two of them. You don't really maybe get the full story, but there's definitely some character development there. But yeah, there's really no actual I mean, I guess you could say the Sargasso Sea itself is the MacGuffin of this story. But
okay,
again,
so if you're putting money on it, you're putting money on the Sargasso Sea as the MacGuffin.
Yeah, that shipyard is for me the MacGuffin of this.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, it's pivotal to the whole story, I think. So yeah, I think it's a a non-highlighted really character of the story. It's there throughout the whole thing. So yeah, I agree.
I kind of go with Leif Erikson's axe because we've got it on the cover of issue number 1. They kind of make a big deal about it because Lawton keeps going back after it. It gets lost at one point, and he's like really upset. It kind of seems like that's what they both want in the adventure.
Yeah,
is that kind of what you? But it doesn't. It's not like we've got to get Leif Erikson's axe because it's got these incredible supernatural powers and this whole Indiana Jones thing is going to go on at the end, and I'm going to know all of the world in my brain. Like, you know what I mean? It's like
it gets kind of lost in the mixture, if you ask me.
Literally gets lost in the mixture.
Literally. I mean, there's this map on there, and like they think it's going to lead to like some type of like big treasure and so on. And then at one point, I mean, we're getting a little far ahead of ourselves here, but at one point they just kind of throw it in the water, and it's just kind of like, all right,
that was my point. I love that.
And I mean, so I guess in a way it is kind of like, the lost MacGuffin. I mean, Indy always loses what he's going after, so
except
it's kind of
right.
Yeah, exactly. So it I guess it could be, but it didn't seem like the main drive. I mean, when they find that axe, they're stuck on that ice cap in issue 1, and like they kind of use it to chop up like the boat that's up there, so they can like keep.
Yeah, it becomes a tool that's used,
right? Like survival tool, exactly.
Yeah. Could you imagine like the Holy Grail, like them passing it around at like a dinner table or something?
Hey, endless wine and immortal.
Yeah. I guess.
I mean, it's like,
sounds pretty good.
Would be pretty cool.
No, but I love that. I'm always harping on this. I think that's why I like this tale so much. I think it's why it's one of my favorites, is because it is about the characters. Kiesel focused on the characters. Again, lifts right from Terry and the Pirates. He said that on the IndyCast here. He said, look, this is I'm just taking it directly from Terry and the Pirates, but it's an Indiana Jones version of it. I love it. Let's talk about this cover. Ed, man, the great Alex Ross. What are you thinking about that cover to issue number 1?
I like it. I mean, it doesn't really. It's funny for the opening cover. It doesn't really necessarily speak pirates to me. It looks more like it could be Indiana Jones and the Sargasso Vikings, perhaps.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I agree.
Which actually either Pirates or Vikings sounds like a football team to me. But anyway, I really like it. It's interesting with the fire. Again, I don't equate fire and water or anything like that.
When you dress up as a pirate, there's no like flames behind you or anything, or things exploding.
Only if I use too much hairspray next to the heater. But apart from that, no, I think it's really good. It's as you've said many times on your show, and I've mentioned, it's very hard to capture Harrison Ford's likeness, and especially with different lighting effects and things like that, which are I think he's done a pretty good job. I'm just not sure if he's looking exactly at where whoever he's pointing at with that axe. Maybe that's. He might have a bit of a Scarlett Johansson lazy eye happening.
Yeah, and you went deep on that. Look, you got the skull and crossbones in between the names of the creators. Does that count?
Yeah, that's true. That's a nice little bullet point that they've got. Right. So yeah.
All right, Keith, Alex. Look, you know how much I love Alex Ross, and I met the guy, and he signed this copy for me. I'm looking at his signature. So I'm probably not the guy to ask. This is one of my favorite covers ever on the planet, on planet Earth in the history of comic books. But let's get a rational take on this, Keith, from you.
From me, rational from me. Oh my goodness.
Because I'm an Alex Ross fan, and I met him, and he signed my book. So I can't. I'm not an objective viewpoint here on it.
I met Alex Ross once too, and he commissioned a Daredevil.
Oh no way!
Yeah.
We've not talked about that.
I have that framed back in the States. It's he was really excited when I asked him to do. I mean, I didn't give him any Indiana Jones covers to sign, but I did get a Daredevil commissioned piece of artwork from him, and it is beautiful. It's one of the favorite things I own. And yeah, he was a cool guy. We talked a bit.
Look, I've been to your place in Pennsylvania. You did not show this to me.
I did not show that to you. That's going to have to happen next time.
2019. This is on my list. This is on my list.
It's going to have to happen. But I mean, so when I met him, this is way before we did anything with the IndyCast. So I didn't really think about talking to him about Indiana Jones at the time, but now I kind of regret that a little bit. But I think I agree. I agree with Ed here. It doesn't really scream pirates. It's kind of like, all right, what's kind of going on here? I like it. I mean, it's a great cover. Personally, my favorite out of these four is I mean, you got to go with issue number 2 here, where Indy's in the water.
Yeah,
I mean, it released the Kraken. You got then you got a pirate ship. You got a plank. You got the Sea Witch overlooking. I mean, Indy's kind of treading water there. You have these Kraken's tentacles wrapped around him essentially. That's a cover.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
That's the cover of the series for me, because even when you go to the last issue too, it's just kind of like Indy, and where is he? Like he's just standing in is it a submarine? He's it definitely looks like something taken out of Last Crusade
It's a stock photo just before the isn't it
the Breath of God, I think.
Yeah, it
Breath
is.
of God.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I mean, and then you look at issue number 3, and it's like, okay, there's kind of like maybe a pirate's sail behind them. So I mean, if you want to talk about what really brings out the essence of this entire story, you got to go with issue number 2.
Yeah.
That just tells the whole story.
No, that's
there.
That's the rational thought I was going for. Look, I'm a number 1 guy. I'm always a number 1 issue guy. And one thing we've talked about on this segment before, and I want you guys to weigh in on this. Okay, so if you got a comic book cover, let's just talk about comic book covers in general. You got a comic book cover. Do you like the just sort of imagery of the hero? It doesn't necessarily have to do with the story. Or do you like maybe Silver Age stuff where they're just like, here's a scene from this tale with word balloons, and here, you know what I'm saying? It's like I love the ones that actually say what's in the book.
I do too. I'm just gonna jump in and say I do too, because I used to work in the advertising industry, and I used to be around movie trailers constantly, and for me that cover is like the movie trailer of what you're about to see. It's the trailer for the book.
You're talking 2? You're talking about 2? Or 1?
Yeah, but I mean, okay. 2. I mean, but also in general, you asked what we prefer to see on our books, and I think I kind of prefer that old. You see the hero fighting the villain on the cover, or you do just see a quick scene out of the book, and I love that. That's what usually caught my attention whenever I bought comics as a kid, or even even as an adult. But most of the times now you get just this piece of artwork. At least when I was collecting Daredevil back in the early 2000s,
late 90s, early 2000s. Well, that
exactly.
that was what they were doing from a marketing perspective. Was they were just putting the character on because they didn't. They wanted that image to pop. Ed,
Right.
what your thoughts on that? Do you like the sort of scene from the tale?
I want a movie poster basically as a cover. That's what entices me to go and see it. So I'm sort of really with Keith on this. It's like the trailer or movie poster. I want to see something exciting that makes me want to see it. If I was one of my students having a look at this and I didn't know who Indiana Jones is, I'd see probably an old guy with an axe. And an old guy who's cleaning his cupboard that's got too many cobwebs in it. You might not know.
All right, so Ed doesn't like 1 and 4. Okay, fair enough.
And I don't want to say anything about since we're talking covers, but number 3, which looks like someone's used a poster effect on or a cutout effect on Photoshop, and the guy at the back.
Is that from Raiders?
It looks like Raiders.
Yeah.
And the guy at the, they've blanked out some teeth. They put on an earring on one of the guy, but the guy at the back looks like one of the characters from
Clerks,
right?
It's Dante.
Yeah.
It's Dante. He wasn't even supposed to be on that ship that day. That's the crazy thing.
To me, I'm not saying that the artwork, it's like the indie is there's no doubt that that's not, Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones, but I think he just looks pasted on to some, and the lack of detail in the back, there's no.
And then again, look at issue number 2, the cover to issue number 2. There's lots going on there. It's like it's enshrouded in fog, and you have this character just looking down. It tells you
walking the plank, and absolutely,
tells you everything you need to know about the Sea Witch. First of all, everything. Like she the way she's standing
she's
in that
charge.
pose,
yeah,
she's in charge.
Indy's in no control.
Right. It's just a great cover. For me, it's like,
Who's
again.
the standout? Look, okay. As always, I'm the most forgiving when it comes to stuff. I'm such an easy target. I'm such an easy mark. As my wife has pointed out many times, I'm a marketer's dream. So I know. I just love Indy. Let's talk about the book itself. As we get in, okay. We talked about this with Carl Kiesel. It's set up like the comic strip from the 30s and 40s. Guys, talk a little bit about the layout of this. It's laid out like the comic strip, like a daily comic strip, 6 panels. I think we got 6 panels, yeah. As we go through each day, talk a little bit about that as opposed to maybe some of the other comic book adventures that we've seen. Do you like it? Do you not like it?
I'm again, full disclosure, I'm not a really hardcore comic book person, and the comics that I picked up from the 70s and 80s, were all the pretty stock standard, Superman and Wonder Woman and those ones which had panels like this, and this to me is like a good old fashioned comic books. A comic book story, which I really like, as opposed to those, where they've got a double spread of, some artwork with maybe 1 or 2 extra panels in it. I really like this.
Yeah, I'm with you there too, Ed. I love the layout of this. It's just there's no real. I guess maybe at one point or another, there might be a splash page or 2. I don't know.
Your favorite? Yeah, your favorite with the axe.
That's right.
That
with
in
the axe.
issue
That's
3?
Right.
No, it's issue 4. I'm sorry, I'm looking ahead.
Okay,
it's issue 4. Yeah,
it is issue
4.
Blood
on the Water, the splash page.
Right.
That was one of your favorites when you came in, because you had mentioned in the interview, you're like, oh, this could be like a great Sunday.
Absolutely.
Although we're so old, we are so old that it's like, remember the Sunday newspaper?
Right.
It was like in color.
Right, because that's what Carl Kiesel said. Like he laid it out like a daily strip. And when I was rereading it for that interview, and I got to that one splash page, and I was like, "There's your Sunday page right there." And for the listeners that don't know what I'm talking about here, you would get from Monday to Friday. You'd get your daily strip, your continuing story
in your newspaper, on the front porch, next to the milk crate.
That's right. And I'm only 42 years old. Jeez.
I know, I'm older than you.
It's crazy. And then on Sunday, you'd get this like, it would be in color and it would be kind of almost a full, one full big piece of artwork, like, kind of like the Prince Valiant type thing.
Yep.
And that just totally stuck out to me. And I was like, man, that picture of the axe wrapped in Indy's whip. I mean, that is just like a beautiful piece of artwork right there.
Beautiful.
So yeah, I love the format, the layout of this comic, and also the way it includes those like little newsreel, like Indy trapped on iceberg kind of things.
Oh,
like,
say it with a voice. Say it with a voice. Do the voice.
Trapped on an iceberg. Weeks pass.
That's it. It's the old newsreel thing. Right.
Very much like an old newsreel.
But they did that in Up. They did that in Pixar's Up.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
It works
that voice
really, really well, and it just gives you a little bit of information there just to kind of move the story along. And I think that's what you fit a lot of information just in that little bubble right there, and really moves the story along pretty quickly. I like that.
Ed, how do we turn back the clock? How do we stop getting older?
We keep talking about Indiana.
Grail.
Oh, that's it.
Grail.
I think we just keep doing what we're doing. We're not doing too badly at the moment. We still collect toys. We're still, 12-year-olds, aren't we?
All right. I agree with that. What did you guys think about, we talked about this with Kiesel too, it was a combination of Terry and the Pirates and Popeye. I mean, we've got, the sea witch is, like it's sea hag, and Kyra was Burma from Terry and the Pirates.
Oh, that's right. That's it, Burma. That's it.
So Burma,
that's right.
so like, and it's like a combination of sea hag from, and then probably one of your favorites, Keith, New Jersey Jones.
I love New Jersey Jones.
That's
he's
wimpy.
Great. Well, first of all,
he's straight up wimpy, man.
Totally wimpy. And you know what? I mean, we were talking with during the Carl Kiesel interview about who we would cast if this was ever made into a movie, and I think I got my New Jersey Jones. And if you guys have seen the Laurel and Hardy trailer that just came out,
yes.
Number one, that movie looks fantastic. But I would say John C. Reilly would make a great New Jersey Jones in the way he's playing Ollie in the Laurel and Hardy movie. I think he would be great as a New Jersey Jones. But New Jersey Jones, of course, I'm from New Jersey. Indy was born in New Jersey, so I think that's kind of a nice little connection there where he's making pretend that Indy is his brother, and he's kind of like he's a bit of a huckster. He's kind of making money off of the Jones name, off of Jones's off of his reputation, and they actually wind up meeting up together. And I think it's a pretty cool character. It's not exactly anything we've really seen in the movies, so I thought it was a nice addition to the story.
Wimpy and New Jersey Jones. He actually said he's one of the Jones boys, which was a wimpy line from Popeye.
Yeah.
In issue number 2, just to bring back the Popeye thing, we've got a character named Seeger.
Yeah.
That's got to be named after E.C. Seeger, the creator of Popeye. He looks a little bit like Poop Deck Pappy.
Yeah, he's got the one eye.
He's got the beard and the whole... Yeah, he looks a little bit like Poop Deck Pappy.
And I've got to say, in the opening chapter 1, it's good to see that Indy's got a spinach-stained shirt. It's all green. It's fantastic.
It's all green. Yeah, the coloring is not
his hat is
he's like a mustard yellow hat with, the artist or the colorist must have been very hungry that day. Spinach and mustard. But spinach, there we go, another connection to Popeye though.
That's what I was going for.
There's a lot of Popeye references here.
You gotta also think that Lawton is a little bit of a, like the way he's drawn, he's a little bit of a Brutus kind of, you know what I mean? Just a little bit. I mean, he's not exactly, he's got different color hair and so on, but the way he's kind of a bully, and he's a blowhard, but he's kind of a tough character too. Lawton does not seem like the kind of guy you really want to mess with, and
he's like Bluto on crack though. He's like Bluto from The Wire or something, isn't he? Like when he takes the Sea Witch out, like doesn't he like shove like 5 slugs in her?
Yeah, it's pretty. That's another thing about this book. This book is like especially violent. It
is, but not over the top. I think. Look, we've talked about this before, but I think weren't there a couple of books in the Dark Horse canon where you could like see blood spurting? And I think you and I have commented on that, where it was like, oh, that was a little over the top. I don't think this one went over the top, but it was definitely jarring. Is that fair?
Yeah, it is jarring. Like we mentioned, when the Sea Witch gets shot by Lawton, I mean, she's dying and she's like, there's blood coming out of her mouth. It's in her hair. It's like it's pretty intense stuff. I mean, at one point too, they shoot a bear in the face. They shoot a bear in the face. It's pretty. It's like, whoa.
What are you gonna do?
He had it coming.
Oh. But wasn't that an amazing whole scene in the issue number 1 though, with like they're trapped and then you've got the henchmen that sort of like they're double crossing henchmen and they take off, and so Indy and Lawton have to like sort of forge this alliance, and then there's a bear attack out of nowhere and they're kind of like in the Antarctic. It's like that is such an amazing scene. That's why I say I really would love to see that in a feature film.
It is an amazing scene because, like, even though that they're kind of like, it seems a bit the situation seems a bit hopeless. Like they're just stuck on this iceberg.
Right.
They're hoping that maybe they'll go into like kind of like the shipping lanes, and they're still just fighting and punching and beating each other up. Like they do kind of work together. But I mean, they with luck, apparently it's a couple of weeks, and they've grown beards and surviving out on an iceberg for weeks.
Well, he said they had the meat. Right. They shot the bear, so they had the meat. Ed, what did you think of Lawton as a character? As a villain.
Well, I think as a villain was fine when I could understand what he was actually saying, because
he's talking like a pirate, right?
Half the time, I mean, it was driving me nuts. I had to reread his dialogue every time, and I just figured, he's just bad. Let's just move on. I'll figure it out from looking at the panels. But he really did. He shot him in the mouth, which was which is pretty shocking. But then there was a few things that I enjoyed the sequence. There was a few things that bugged me as they were going up on the icebergs, and just what they did with that. Indy. I felt like Indy wouldn't have just with the burning of the Viking ship. I just felt really bad. I don't think he wouldn't really like to do that. I know he's got to survive and everything like that. But in the panel when he's talking about, we've got to survive here. We've got, some water, wood for fire, and fresh meat. If we're lucky, we'll drift into the shipping lanes. I mean, how much? That's a lot of polar bear burgers that they'd be able to survive there for at least a year. And you would assume there's another polar bear out there somewhere, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
they've got a lot of time. I just thought and good old Lawton, he could lay off the polar bear burgers a little bit. And Indy could always eat him later on.
He can hibernate. He's got he's ready to hibernate for the winter.
Yeah,
hey,
exactly.
Let's take a look at issue 2. Ed, you got issue 2 up there, right?
I do. Boy, that was quick. Yeah. Yep. Straight onto it. Fantastic cover.
Yeah, no worries. And we love the cover, but man, when you flip over to is it page 25? Almost the last page of the adventure. When you're looking at that, guys, this seems very familiar. And look, this is years before Crystal Skull. Keith, are you looking at?
I'm looking at it, and I'm definitely seeing. I think what you guys are seeing.
I'm seeing Akator.
I'm seeing Akator. Right
yeah,
there.
I'm seeing Akator.
It's pretty much torn right out of these pages. I mean, it's pretty
Greek, Venetian, Minoan, every Western culture that ever sailed the sea, right here. Just about every piece is filled. Gold pieces. Indy is losing his mind here. This is like years before Akator, right?
They were scientists.
Yep. And it's years before Kill Bill, and you've got Daryl Hannah there with the eye patch and everything, and the blonde hair. That's so good.
Perfect call, Ed. We've casted this movie already. We've casted this movie.
What do you think of a female pirate lead, Ed?
I'm okay with that. Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. Because Keith,
there were lots of female pirates, Mary Read and Bonnie, who commanded ships and pillaged the Seven Seas. So it's not unhistoric.
Keith, I know you love yourself some Last Crusade. I know you're in Austria. I know you love the Austrian aspect of it. I know you love some Elsa and some Alison Doody. Look, is this one of the greatest Indiana Jones female character. She's not a villain. She's kind of a villain. Maybe she's not a villain. Doesn't this put you in the mind of Elsa a little bit?
It does. But beyond Elsa, because Elsa was a dirty sneak.
She was. She was. She talked in her sleep.
And she talked in her sleep. So I mean, Elsa, different type of character, obviously. Yep. But
who do you like better? Let's get right to it. I'm going to ask you the big question: who do you like better, Elsa or Sea Witch?
Oh man, even though Elsa was
as
a bit
character,
dirty,
as a character, hold on,
as a character.
If these were both live action in a movie.
Man, that's really tough. That's really tough. Really tough because, I mean, the Sea Witch has a lot of development here, and speaking of a tough decision, she's a tough woman. She gets shot how many times? She's lost an eye, and you got to think like when she says like only one other person kind of like got through after she calls the Kraken and she says one other person I know survived that Kraken. It's got to be her.
I think that's what
right?
I thought. That's what I thought.
I mean, she's the one that survived it. So she's been through a hell of a lot of stuff. She's a leader. Yep. She's incredibly. She seems fair with everybody taking their claims. Like you discover this, you take your claim. She seems beloved by her men and respected.
She says, when they tried to pull a Raiders when they took Marion and Belloc kind of protected Marion. She kind of protects Cairo.
Yeah, but what I think is funny about her too is every time they mention Jones, she always thinks they're talking about New Jersey Jones, and whenever Indy comes around, she's like, "Not you, the other Jones." Right. So it's kind of a funny little ongoing joke as well. I really like the character of the Sea Witch. She again.
You didn't answer the question. You avoided the question.
Well, yeah, that's. Ed, what do you think of
Ed, Elsa or Sea Witch?
Look, I prefer Elsa just because, she's not a more fully realized character, but, I've seen her in the flesh, so to speak. So I prefer her as a character, but I think she's a great, a great character and really enhance the story, I felt. And of course you need some piratey, she's the embodiment of a pirate, and she looks like a pirate, and obviously as the respect and command of a crew, and I thought she was pretty darn good.
I'm going Sea Witch until I can get Allison Duty on the show.
I don't know how the Sea Witch says goodbye. I know how Austrians say goodbye, and I mean I'm married to an Austrian, so
you know how Sea Witch says goodbye. She makes you walk the plank into the Kraken.
So I might have to go Elsa then. I think I prefer the Austrian way better.
Apparently Cairo likes the Austrian way better too, because this is definitely our romantic interest for Indiana Jones. Again, oh my goodness, guys, the characters. I think by the time we get to the end of this discussion, I'm going to convince you guys that this might be the greatest Indiana Jones comic book story of all time, because Cairo is an amazing character.
Yeah, she is, and she has a pretty great. She has a lot of great moments in this story as well, and you could definitely tell that she's way into Indy. Yep. But I would have liked to have seen maybe even a bit more from her.
Right, but isn't that because, like, I think this, until Tomb of the Gods, this is like the last miniseries we get for Indiana Jones. But if this had continued, Disney, Marvel, are you out there listening? If you bring it back, and I think Carl even mentioned this, that her escape in issue 4, isn't that a direct lift from Terry and the Pirates with Burma?
I mean, absolutely. She jumps off.
You took the dialogue, I think, from it.
Yeah, I mean, you would think too, like, they would just be like, all right, she jumped in the water. Let's just surround the area. She's got to come up somewhere. But no, they just kind of let her go, and she kind of makes a clean getaway. So she can return another day.
Yeah, it's brilliant stuff. There's some great fight scenes. Issue 3 opens with a fight scene. I love the usage of the whip, the gun, everything Indy finds, anything within Indy's grasp, he's using to win any fight he gets into.
Also,
and,
Indy getting whipped again, like in Temple of Doom, and that one weird, like he has to kind of go around the mast, and each one of them gets to hit him and whip him and punch him, and it's pretty brutal.
I'm like kind of looking at like these fight scenes as we're going through. I mean, it's so difficult to bring a fight scene into a comic book, especially an Indiana Jones fight scene, because like even John Williams went, "Look, I'm not dealing with this, in the bar." In Nepal, I'm like, you guys just use the sound effects. Just the sound effects.
You've
Ben
got
Burt,
you've
go
got
nuts.
all those crunk and smash and Krish.
The panel on page 5 where they go, but I love like the coloring, like the reds and the yellows. It's just and even at the top of page 5, Indy kind of does the thing he does in the bar in Nepal, where he grabs the gun and shoots.
Yeah, though it's a bit lessened by Pow Pow. I hope he's not actually making those noise himself. It's like
better than Pew Pew.
Pew Pew.
Right. The guys with the lightsabers just exactly.
Yeah.
But it does get better towards the end of the book. It seems like you're right. It seems like every time that there is a sound effect like that, it is kind of representative of the character. When Lawton shoots the gun, it's always like a blam blam, like it's very heavy and very. But I don't know.
Well, we do have the oil lamp spill and like catches everything on fire, and then on page 17 we get the bawoom. Are you guys okay with the bawoom?
I'm okay with I like the crump too, like whenever a table gets pushed over, the crump or the krish, stuff like that. So it's very, very 60s Batman, some of these sound effects.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's just so cool with Cairo, like she like bandages Sea Witch up and like she's taking care of her. It's just like
sets her back to health. I mean, it's like and you got to wonder then how long does this adventure take?
Right?
Because I mean, she was shot like 4 or 5 times. She's the Michael Myers of this adventure.
Okay. Now go back. Go back though, because you said you thought the MacGuffin was the Sargasso Sea. Mm-hmm. Do you think there's some type of Indiana Jones stuff going on there that? Because there's ships there like forever ago. How old is Sea Witch? We don't know, right?
Yeah, we don't know, but I mean, they do make a mention like there are some people that kind of arrive there. There are some people that are born there. We don't know anything about her.
Right. So what are your thoughts on the? So what are your thoughts on the Sargasso Sea? Are they in like a Bermuda Triangle kind of thing where time doesn't exist, and where they have healing properties?
I think it's a bit like in the most recent Pirates of the Caribbean, where Captain Salazar and his crew were contained within like the Devil's Sea, an area where it's some sort of magical, time bubble. I reckon you could be right. We're just one step away from seeing an island with dinosaurs, on the horizon somewhere there, and Kong somewhere around the corner.
That's Skull Island, right? Doesn't that give you that sort of like misty, foggy, like where are we kind of feel? But,
for sure.
But isn't that an awesome aspect of it where it's not necessarily a MacGuffin that I have to learn everything about the history of it and go back through all these things? It's just kind of like a vibe, but we introduce all these cool characters who apparently have histories with each other.
And apparently there's a lot of life there. I mean, look at all the seaweed. Look at all the things that are like the Kraken. There's all these like kind of interest. The Kraken,
eels.
The eels, all this like teeming with life. So maybe there is some sort of life-giving property with these waters, or with even that fog that's there. We know from even John Carpenter's movie, like the fog always has some type of supernatural ability associated with it. You know what I mean?
At. So maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. Maybe the Sargasso Sea is the MacGuffin.
Yeah, see,
but isn't it beautiful that it doesn't hit you over the head with it? And isn't that a perfect adventure for Indiana Jones live action? Yes, it is. Everybody say yes.
Well, yeah, I totally agree with you there. I mean, whenever we talk about this adventure, we always go back to who we would cast and who we, what we would like to see. And we don't really do that with many other.
Didn't you say Catherine Zeta-Jones as Cairo?
As Cairo, and Kiesel liked that. He was like, "Yeah, that's pretty good." I mean, and also I said, Brendan Gleeson as Lawton. I mean,
it looks like him,
right? I mean, it's just kind of perfect. I mean, and we have John C. Reilly as New Jersey Jones. Hopefully we could get Harrison Ford to kind of just de-age him a little bit. Everything.
Well, they're apparently doing that in Marvel. I talked about Clark Gregg on Comic Book Central, and man, he says they put him in the de-aging machine, and 25 years are gone. So. So that is not out of the realm of possibility. Indiana Jones fans, take heart. Indiana Jones could be de-aged for those bookends on the film. So, look, overall,
Daryl Hannah as the Sea Witch would be perfect. I mean,
yeah,
come on. That would be perfect.
Well, Ed's already done the Kill Bill thing, so there you go.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so gents, look, weigh in. What do you think? Indiana Jones and the Sargasso Pirates, yay or nay? Aye or nay?
Yeah, it should be.
Yeah,
yo-ho or
yo-ho.
What is it? Is it yo-ho or what's the nay? Is it nay, yo-ho or nay?
Yeah, maybe a nay and an I. I think that's what it is.
Nay and an I. Okay. I said, is it which one is it, Ed?
I think it's an I. For me, it got more compelling as the story went along. So I really did enjoy it, and I think it was quite different from what the usual, I suppose, landlocked adventures of Indiana Jones, even if you can forgive his khaki shirt in episode 4 for some reason, and his Belloc hat. What's going on there?
Yeah.
Guys, nuts. But anyway, that's just me. But I think the story was it was a good, fun, rollicking adventure, and that's what you want from an Indiana Jones story, don't you?
Keith Voss, weigh in.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. Very compelling story, great characters, great character development, and as we discussed now, pretty good MacGuffin. And we even get a nice little Marcus cameo at the end of the book as well. Yeah, I mean, it's big thumbs up for me on this story. The coloring was a bit off in some moments, like Ed mentioned, but I mean, I love the layout, I love the format, like the old comic strips. The story just really was a fun one. Again, took Indy out of what we see him normally, normal environments. Got him out on the sea, and yeah, definitely. Highly recommended. If you guys haven't read this one, pick this one up. Pick up the omnibus. Go out and pick up the original issues. They're probably not that expensive. Pick those up. Give it a read. Let us know what you think.
One of my faves. It was a good one for Dark Horse to kind of go out on. I say go out on because it was like quite a while before we got Tomb of the Gods. But we've got some other little indie tales that we've got in between now and then. But man, this was a strong one. It's one of my favorites. I love it. I think it needs to be a feature film. Let's go from there. Ed Dolista, thank you so much for taking some time away from the IndyCast. We're going to return you back to your own show.
That is all right. It's as usual. I really am impressed with what you've done with your further adventures at the place. It looks fantastic.
Thank you.
You know. You've
you like the Raven's Nest. You like hanging out in the Raven's Nest, yeah.
You've done some decorating since I've last been here.
We have.
And all those pizza boxes and crystal head glasses are gone, which is fantastic.
That's great. Well, you gave us the raise.
We got Mitch. Right. You gave us a raise, and also we got Mitch to come and pick those up for us. I mean, he was more than happy to come and clean the place up for us.
No, it was nice to do the renovations for it. Ed, thank you so much for joining us today and knocking back a few glasses of rum with us in the Raven's Nest. And again, our thanks for allowing us this platform on the IndyCast.
Always happy to, and thanks so much. It's always a pleasure, and always happy to come back whenever the opportunity is. And my final thought is that it's quite ironic that Lawton at the end got killed by Buddha, because if you have a look at those last few panels, Buddha, and I didn't think Buddha was really into those silent, violent deaths. But anyway.
Well, but Indiana Jones is.
Yeah, that's right. It's everywhere. I mean, I thought they could have come up with a better, pow, pow, pow. Maybe might have been a little bit better, but hey, I really enjoyed my trip down memory lane with the Sargasso Pirates. That's for sure.
Thanks so much, and happy pirating.
Cheers.
All right, Keith. Oh man, boy, that was fun. That was
so much fun.
Look, we're talking pirates. We're talking with a pirate. We're talking about pirates.
With a pirate. With Ed.
Okay, that's it for the day then.
All right, kids. As Indiana Jones says, that is it for the day. Man, an action-packed segment today. Look, we've been promising this for a while. Hopefully we delivered today.
I think we did. I think we did.
Our thanks to Ed and Chris for their takes on this fantastic Indiana Jones Dark Horse comic book story. That was fun.
And once again, big thanks to Carl Kiesel for joining us on our last segment. We want to hear from you folks. What did you think of Indiana Jones and the Sargasso Pirates? Please drop us a line at thefurtheradventures@gmail.com, and be sure to check us out on Facebook at The Further Adventures of Indiana Jones. Got all kinds of cool stuff up there, all kinds of original artwork, some discussions about all these comics. Please join us there. We'd love to hear from you guys.
That's where all the cool kids are hanging out. That's where Keith's hanging out. That's where I'm hanging out,
right.
man. Look, you can also tell us what you think about the next indie story that we're going to be reviewing. Keith, the next time we get to... Oh, my goodness. It's one of the best.
It's a good one.
It's one of the best.
I agree.
I think Carl Kiesel came up with it.
You know, like,
I think he did.
Go back to that interview. He made a mention, you know, and it's definitely going to be an interesting one. It's one of the coolest indie comic book tales of all time. 2003's indie Star Wars crossover from Star Wars Tales number 19 into the Great Unknown. It is an epic Lucasfilm crossover. Two of our favorite characters, Indiana Jones, Han Solo. We talked about with Carl Kiesel on our last segment. He wanted to write an indie Star Wars crossover. Like we mentioned, Hayden Blackman got the call instead.
He did.
We are going into the Great Unknown with Indy, not just Han. We have Short Round. We have Chewbacca. Next time on The Further Adventures of Indiana Jones.